welcome to ShareTreck. Today is the 17th of January and the markets are closed on account of Martin Luther King Day. So I am thinking let's take this opportunity to just zoom out of our narrow technical analysis of CRISPR stocks and try to see what other market components are trying to tell us about the general direction of this week and forward. So first let me share with you a footage of snow outside my house. This is a major event. We have never had snowstorms like this for a while, so very interesting. Overnight we had more than a foot of snow and it continues to fall at the rate of 7 centimeters per hour, and it's going to go on for another 4 to 5 hours according to the forecasts. But now back to business. Today we'll talk about earnings that are due this week and which may have a positive or negative impact on the market. The other thing we are going to do is we are also going to take a look at NASDAQ and S&P and gauge their direction. I have been trying to get my hands on the J.P. Morgan presentations by all CRISPR companies so that I can bring to you some highlights from there. It seems that only a few of them have published PDF. Most of them have got only audio recordings. So I'm going to share highlights from those JPM presentations that I have been able to download. And I'll also share more background information on our newest edition, which is Verve. So that's what you have in store for today. So let's get started. The first set of earnings I'm interested in happens to be on the 18th. So we have got Goldman Sachs and BNY Mellon both reporting before market open on the 18th, and we have Interactive Brokers who would be reporting on the 18th after market close. And in terms of the expectations for BNY, we are expecting a 1.01 EPS, and for Interactive Brokers it's going to be 0.83, and for Goldman Sachs it's going to be 11.73. So that is the street expectation, and if that does not happen, then the market will get a negative sentiment. If that happens, then we could have a positive boost from the numbers. Now next, going on to the 19th of January, these are the banks that I'm more interested in, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, and also the other non-banking companies. So there are around 35 banking or financial companies reporting the earnings on 19th. I have selected P&G because it will give us an idea about the consumer products scene. United Airlines about travel, and Intel technology company. So Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, and P&G are going to report on the 19th before market open, whereas United and Intel will report after the market is closed. So in terms of expectation, the street expectations for Bank of America is 0.76 cents, and for Morgan Stanley is 1.91, and for P&G is 1.66. While United is expected to give an EPS of minus 2.08, so note the negative. So once airline companies start going positive, then you can see a lot of gain in their price. The next is for Intel at 90 cents. So if we were to look at the next set of earnings that will come on the 20th of January before market open, you have got American Airlines, Netflix, and CSX. So we don't know when Netflix is going to report, whether it's going to be before or after market close. But in terms of their earnings expectations, for American Airlines we are expecting a negative 1.14 EPS. For CSX we are expecting 0.41 EPS, and for Netflix we are expecting 0.82 as the EPS. So let's now turn our attention to the indices. We usually do not check out the S&P, so let us start from there. And if we look at the S&P index, so S&P 500 shows a steady upward movement within a bullish channel, and it's still within the bullish channel, but it's facing this resistance out here at 470.94. And it needs to break above that in order to continue its forward momentum. And right now the MACD as well as the momentum appear to be bearish, though the dark pool sentiment is positive. Now let us turn our attention to NASDAQ. And in NASDAQ, we are finding that we are stuck against this resistance at 14,954.18. We are just trying to clear through it, and we have not been successful. And we have our support here at 14,271.23. And as you can see here, the MACD is bearish, and so is the momentum. The momentum is also slagging down. It's not too bad, but it's the momentum is on a decreasing path. So that's also bearish. Let's look at the 10-year yields. The 10-year yields are going up, which is a bearish sign for our NASDAQ. So that's also against us at this point of time. And I would like to show you something very interesting, which I found recently. Let us check this out. Actually, I got this idea from another somebody else on the TradingView platform, but it made sense to me, so I'm bringing it to you. So there is this pattern in technical analysis which is called as a cup and handle. So cup and handles are effective if they are beyond a 6-week period in formation. Then they are supposed to be potent and most likely to work. In this case, as you can see, it's been over many years. So the cup pattern is starting on the 1st of September 2011, and right now we have ended it on 3rd of August 2020, and it's forming the handle pattern right now. So typically cup and handle pattern is very bullish, and it's supposed to push the asset valuation upwards. So what would happen is that if gold is going to spike, if this cup and handle pattern was successful and gold is to spike, that would mean that the share prices will fall. So this is again bearish for shares. It also fits in nicely with the fact that we are going to have interest rate hikes coming up, and the tapering is going to be expedited. So all in all signals, whichever direction you look at it from, seems to suggest that we are in a bearish phase for the time being, until something positive happens and takes us out of it. The positive things will be resolution of all these risk factors one by one. So now let's look at the JPM presentation, some highlights that I could find in at least one of the CRISPR companies, because most of them seem to have put just audio recordings out there. Only one of them had a PDF that I could bring over for a presentation here. So let's get started with Intellia's presentation at the J.P. Morgan Health conference. Presentation out here, but I'm going to skip some of the slides and go to the ones that I thought were interesting. The title, Building a Full Spectrum Genome Editing Company, that's pretty impressive. CRISPR-based platform. So they are talking about in vivo targeting genetic diseases and ex vivo targeting immuno-oncology and autoimmune diseases. And the next slide talks about them having the editing tools and the delivery tools, and they are using LNPs, AAVs, and additional modalities. So this is again another way of them saying that they are a well-rounded CRISPR company. Next, here they are talking about their achievements in 2021. Intellia 2001, first ever clinical data supporting initial safety and efficacy of in vivo CRISPR genome editing in humans. They also dosed the first patient with Intellia 2002 in first in-human study. And new candidate development, so they had 2 new candidate developments coming up in 2021. In ex vivo, they have initiated patient screening in first in-human study for NTLA 5001. And in terms of platform innovation, they have demonstrated preclinical proof of concept in vivo editing of bone marrow, unveiled proprietary base editor with first preclinical data, and highlighted differentiated allogenic platform compared to current approaches. So those are the achievements for 2021 and 2022 and beyond. They have laid out their key milestones to present more clinical data for Intellia 2001 and complete enrollment of phase 1 study. And for Intellia 2002, present interim data from phase 1 or 2 study in second half of 2022. And for Intellia 3001, they plan to file an IND or IND equivalent in 2023, so that's beyond 2022. So that's the key that I take away from here. and also enrolling patients in phase 1 or 2 study in 2022 for Intellia 5001. The pipeline slide. So this also shows their partnership with Regeneron for NTLA 2001 and with Regeneron for hemophilia B and hemophilia A, and various research program with Regeneron and Sparing Vision. So those are their tie-ups with partners where we have the in vivo segment. And out of these, Intellia 2001 and 2002 are in early clinical stage, and they are the most advanced. And when we come to ex vivo, the partnership with Novartis for sickle cell disease is at an advanced stage, in early clinical stage. And likewise, the NTLA 5001 is also in early clinical stage. The others are all in very early stages. So that's about it as far as the presentation from Intellia is concerned. As I mentioned earlier, the other CRISPR companies do not have a PDF on their investor site. So you can always go and search for J.P. Morgan Health Conference presentation on the investor relations sections of these companies, and maybe sooner or later they will post a copy of that out there, and you can get more information. So let's turn our eyes to Verve. I just downloaded a presentation from Verve for 2022. I'm going to walk through that with you, and let us see if we can find anything interesting out there. So at the very onset, the first slide itself very clearly states that their mission is to disrupt the care of cardiovascular disease through single course gene editing medicines. And later on in the slide presentation, they also talk about why it is important to have a single course gene editing medicine, while we already have repeated treatments which can control the effect of high cholesterol. So I have some points to make on that, which we'll talk about at when we come to those slides. So the first slide here talks about the target of how many people are there worldwide, hundreds of millions of patients, and 31 million with genetic form of ASCVD, which is the basic disease that they are targeting. And this 31 million is the main target. And the way they are going to be treated is through a single dose gene editing medicine to durably lower LDL-C and treat the ASCVD. So if LDL-C is cured and reduced permanently, then what would happen is that it won't progress into a serious heart disease. So that's where they are coming from. So their core capabilities is that they have internally developed novel lipid nanoparticles for delivery, LNPs, guide RNA and design and purification. They have mRNA design, purification, and GMP production, and comprehensive off-target optimization. So this is their core competence, because of which they feel confident that they can meet their goal of a single dose medicine. And when I look at their pipeline, it seems very, very slim, and that's the one reason why that I would be a bit concerned. But if this single candidate or this narrow pipeline does succeed in giving a marketable product, then of course Verve would have made it. And but still, even after this succeeds, they need to have more candidates into their pipeline in order to be a consistently profitable and growing company. So now let's look at the other slides that were of interest to me. So let us see, there's around 45 slides, so there's a whole lot of things going on in this slide deck. So let's quickly scroll through and see what would be of interest to us from an investor's perspective. So there's a lot of technical information out here which probably we will not understand unless we are scientists, but I want to look at things that interest me from a investor point of view. So this is what I was talking about. Why a single course treatment when there is a standard of care for lowering cholesterol? So chronic care models result in poor control of cumulative blood LDL-C. So even with the politicians that you hear, they talk about healthcare. So they talk about the life cycle of a person, about their job and loss of health insurance and all those things. So if you look at this chart, it says first you have a heart attack, then you add some feel-good medicines, and then you tide over for a period of time, then things surface again, then you put a stent, and then things go on, and if you have missed some appointments, then you end up with a bypass surgery. And then when you lose your job and you lose your medical insurance, then you end up with a fatal heart attack and you're gone. So by the age of 65 or before that, a person with chronic LDLC exposure might find the end of their life. So that's the reason why Verve feels that a single course treatment for ASCVD would address key unmet need, getting LDLC as low as possible for as long as possible. Now, this brings me to a thought process about which I need to probably talk to knowledgeable people and do a bit of research to understand how it works. So just as we said that regular medicines to control the condition is not going to help, and that we need to have a one dose solution which will last for a lifetime and prolong the life of the person as well as reduce medical costs. This makes perfect sense to me, but at the same time, if we are talking genetic medicine, would it be possible that future generations may not have this problem because we have already corrected it out of our gene pool? So that will be true for most of the genetic conditions that these companies are trying to resolve. So yeah, that's one question I need to research about, and if any of you know the answer to that, please put it in the comments so that I can be enlightened. Because if that is the case, then all these treatments have got a limited shelf life of monetization, because after that point of time, everything is going to be taken care of, and it will be really cruel to let generation after generation of people be born with these defects only so that they take this one-time cure and get better with regard to any genetic medicine for any genetic condition. So I think that most governments will ultimately want a long-term cure which will pass through generations, and in that case these kind of companies will have a difficult time justifying their ongoing business. So it's just a thought. It may or may not be true. We need to find out, but as an investor, not as a scientist, I need to find answers to those questions because there are potential risks that we can see going forward. So yeah, so that's about what I have with regard to Verve. And this brings me to the end of my session today. This is a holiday at the market, so I just thought I'll put some thoughts together for you. I hope you find some interest in this. Maybe you liked it, maybe you did not, but I wanted to be there today with you, sharing my thoughts. So here it is. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye for now. Until next session. Take care.